Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that awkward pause that happened. I don't know. My phone died, so, now I have to do part 2, and I already said I was gonna do part 2. So, continuing on with the story, so, we all went to bed and stuff, and I was still up at 4 in the morning because I couldn't sleep because I kept thinking about him, and apparently my dad was still awake. And, one second. Okay, there we go. So, one second. You know what? I'm gonna go with that. So, anyways, me and my dad were still up at like 4 in the morning and stuff because we couldn't sleep, and we were texting each other, and I was just like, I don't want to see him like this. So, we had stayed up until 4 because, again, like I said, we couldn't sleep. So, we just talked back and forth about like songs that he liked and stuff, and then eventually we went to bed. Like, I just watched a couple videos on my phone and stuff, and like went on my TikTok for a little bit, and then eventually I went to sleep, and I was fine. So I woke up the next morning and found out that my grandpa was having seizures. And so, he had a seizure. So, called, and they didn't know about it and stuff. So they called in a nurse to like give him a bath and stuff, and like a daily checkup, kind of a checkup and stuff, and so he started having seizures whilst the nurse was there. And so they called in another nurse, which was actually the 24-hour care nurse. And she stayed there until he passed. And so, like, she stayed there and stuff to make sure everything was going okay and all that. And my grandpa's brother, my uncle, ended up coming over. Or my great uncle came over and all that. And so she stayed for a while. Well, she stayed for a second just to like check in on him and stuff, and like then like it basically started off. She just came over and stuff to just like see how things were going and stuff. So they were giving him medicine and stuff, and like he would have seizures, and then that's when things started getting really bad for him. So one second. So, sorry, I had to take a pause. So, he started having seizures, and they would either just be like little minor ones that lasted like a minute and then stopped, or they would just be like these really big ones that lasted like 5 to 10 minutes, and that like they were major seizures. He would have a seizure, and he would, sorry. I'm trying to like get a hold of myself and trying to like tell this story clearly, and it just wasn't a good image for me. So he was having seizures almost like every 5 minutes, and I just seeing him having these seizures and stuff, getting like given medicine and stuff. Like, what was one of them? I think one of them was morphine or something like that. I don't remember. And they like swab and they'd put it in his gums and stuff, and it'd like help him stop with seizures, and they give him all these medicines like every hour and stuff, and just like it's not how he used to be. so the nurse stayed and stuff, and so we had dinner. We had KFC. It's funny because in the same day, two times in the same day, we had KFC for lunch and dinner. And so the nurse was there, and my grandma was like, you should probably eat and stuff. And she was like, oh no, I don't want to be rude and stuff. And we were just like, no, you should eat. You're a 24-hour nurse and stuff. You are welcomed into our home, so therefore you need to eat. And so she was like, okay, well, if you insist. And so she grabbed a plate and she ate and stuff. And it was all good from there. And then a couple hours went by and stuff. A couple seizures. It wasn't as bad, but now, I'm just gonna say this right now. I'm gonna try keeping it together with this next part, with this last part, because this was when my life was turned around and my life was ruined. So, at like 7 o'clock or something like that, we were having a conversation. I was standing in the kitchen, watching my grandpa, making sure he was okay, and, you know, making conversations with the nurse and stuff, and just, like, hanging out, like, with them and stuff, and, like, watching my grandpa to make sure he was okay. And it hit, like, 7 o'clock, and it was just, like, having a conversation about dogs and stuff, and they're just like, yeah, this is my favorite dog, or, yeah, I like German Shepherds and stuff, and then all of a sudden my grandma goes and says to the nurse that like, she was like, nurse, there's something going on. There's something going on with him. I don't know. I think this is it. I think this is the end. And I heard those words from my grandma, and it made me feel horrible. It was the worst thing ever. I was standing in the kitchen with my papa's sweater on, or sweatshirt or whatever, and I had my cross around my neck because I knew that if I had it with me, it was gonna be okay. So I heard her say that he started shutting down and stuff, and my dad was all confused, and the nurse was like, went to my dad and said, I hate to say it, but I think this is it. I think this is the end. I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. I was just like, what is happening? And I saw my grandpa just start to get slower with his breathing and stuff. And in my head, like, I'm holding my cross as tight as I can. I have tears running down my eyes, and in my head I'm just like, Grandpa? I was just like, Grandpa, it's okay to let go. In my head, I was just like, Grandpa, I think it's time. You should move on. I don't want to see you hurting anymore. You don't need to stay longer just for me, or just for Ian, or just for Dad, or Sarah, or Grandma. Like, I think it's you can go. I was like, you can let go. You can go when you're ready. I don't want to see you hurting anymore. And I just don't want to see you in pain. I don't want to see you look like that. I don't want to look at you like this. I don't want to see you like this. I don't want to see you suffer. I don't want to see you in pain. I want you to be in a better place. So you can go. You can let go. And I said those, and I 100% said those words in my head. I was just like, Grandpa, if you want to let go now, you can let go whenever you're ready. It's just like, whenever you're ready to go, you can go. And I obviously knew. I started, like, the way that I started figuring out, like, what was going on and stuff was when my grandma started saying her goodbyes to him and saying that you've always been there for me, and you've always been in my life, and I made sure to take care of you. I made sure you stayed at your home and that you passed away in your home, and I just made sure that you were gonna be okay. And I just made sure that you were hurting. I got you what you wanted. And I'm saying my final goodbyes, and I just wanted to say thank you. And that's basically what she said to him when he was shutting down and before he passed away. And I started crying, and I ran to the bathroom and stuff, and whilst I was running to the bathroom and stuff, my grandma was like, "Skylar, are you okay?" And that was probably the first time that I had ignored my grandma. And I didn't really even ignore her, I just didn't answer because I didn't want her to see me upset. And that was the first time that, like, I just didn't answer her back. Like, I was so upset, and, like, my stepbrother was in the living room and stuff, and he saw me go to the bathroom and stuff, and I just went in the bathroom. I locked the door, and I started bawling my eyes out because I knew that he had passed. I knew that it was his time. I had known that he was ready to let go. And so I walked down to the bathroom, and so my dad, in the corridor, like, in the entrance of the hallway and stuff, facing the mirror, facing down the hallway and stuff, and he was crying, and then I hugged him, and I started crying and stuff, and my stepmom was crying, and my grandma started calling some people and she was crying and stuff, and I felt bad, but, like, my grandma was very hardworking through this journey, and I just know that she did a lot for him, and I do appreciate her for that. By the time I walked in the back room, he was already gone. Yeah. By the time I had walked into the room that he was in, his face was pale, his eyes closed halfway. He was just like, he just looked empty, like, he stopped moving, his heart stopped beating, he stopped moving his limbs, his eyes stopped moving, and he started getting pale, and I just knew that he was gone. There and then, at 7:05 p.m. on February 15th. So, around Valentine's Day. Now, we wanted to donate money, or we donated money to hospice care and 24-hour care in the hospital and stuff for being there for him and being there for us and making sure that he was okay. And we said our final goodbyes. I put my hand on his shoulder, told him it was gonna be okay. I told him that it was a good thing that he let go, and it was fine that he was ready to go because I didn't want to see him in pain anymore. So I told him that it was okay. He could go. We all knew that he was ready to go. He was ready to stop his journey, and passed away that night. And so, hold on, I need to go. And so, that weekend we had gotten home and stuff, and that night I had texted a couple of my friends saying that my grandpa had sadly passed away, and I couldn't make it much longer. And I called my mom, and I knew that my mom would understand because she lost her dad to a car crash, which was my grandpa that I was talking about in the other video. She understood how it felt. She knew what it was like to lose someone that special, because she did lose someone that was the world to her. And I just think about it every day. And so I called her and stuff, and I was like, Mom, like, I just my eyes, and she was like, what's wrong? Hey, and she was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I love you, Mom. And I really hate to say this, but he's gone. He passed away. And she was like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry and stuff. I'm really sorry, but he lived a good life and stuff, and you were prepared, and you knew that it was gonna happen soon, and you just prepared for it. And I was just like, yeah. Except I didn't want to see him like that, because and I don't want to say it like this, like, just be like, oh, well, I watched it happen. Like, no, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to make it seem like it's a good thing that I watched him, because it most certainly was not. It was the worst thing I could ever see in my whole life. It was, honestly, it was worse than hearing my grandpa got into a car crash. Watching him go, like, watching my grandpa go was the worst thing that I could ever see. And so that weekend that he passed away, I came back. We went back home and stuff, and I went back to school and stuff, and I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was heartbroken, because he was my everything. I was near him a lot more, so therefore I was pretty close with him. And when I saw him go, I was just like, this is one thing I never, ever wanted to see in my life. But I did. I saw it. So the next week that I was with my dad was the week of his funeral. We had left, I want to say we left I think we left Thursday, and then that Friday was his long visitation. And then Saturday was a mini visitation / the ceremony for him. And like, we weren't talking about like God and stuff, but like, we did the gun salute, we did taps, we did those things. And we had to wait for the burial because the ground was still frozen and stuff, so we had to wait for the burial, and we just did that in like, I think March, either March or April, I don't remember, but yeah. And honestly, the first visitation I went to, I had seen him, and I wasn't happy. I put an ID tag with mine, Keaton, my stepbrother, and my cousin Matthew's names on it, saying "World's Best Grandpa," and I laid it in his casket because I knew it would mean a lot. And so I had seen him the first time. Surprisingly, at his funeral, I didn't cry as much because I basically, I didn't really have much to cry about because I used all my tears the night that he passed away. So that, when I walked into the funeral home, I knew it was going to be the same. I basically knew that it was going to be the same way that I had seen him the night that he passed, except he was going to be in a suit and he was going to look peaceful. But I did tear up a little bit, and we got there and stuff, and we just had a visitation, and we met all his other friends and family and stuff, and I got to meet everyone, and it's pretty nice to meet all the people that he was friends with, because he was pretty well known in Tawas, because that was just him. So the next day was the 1 hour visitation and ceremony, where his family and friends and some friends were there, and some of my dad's friends were there because they loved him. And there was actually two people that wore Bullfrog t-shirts, or one wore a sweatshirt and the other wore a t-shirt, and it said Bullfrog, and that was the name of my grandpa's boat. And my dad was just that was the most respectful thing you could have worn. Instead of wearing a suit and stuff, wearing a Bullfrog t-shirt with his boat's name on it, that was the most respectful thing you could have done, because he loved the Bullfrog. And so ceremony went, and they did the gunshots, and then they started doing taps and stuff, and I looked over to the side because my stepmom was sitting right next to me. I was sitting at the very edge, so when the honor guard was going by, I thought that one of them was gonna accidentally bump into me, so that's why I tried scooting over to the side and stuff. And my stepmom was sitting right next to me and stuff, and we were all in the front row because that was his family, and we were all in the front row. And so so they started doing taps and stuff, and I looked over, I was just looking straight, and then I looked over to the side, and I noticed my stepmom started crying, which caused me to start crying because I was just upset. I didn't want to see it, because I wasn't mainly just thinking about and looking at him oh, that's what he looked like in the casket and stuff, and that's what he looked like, he looks peaceful and stuff. That's not how I looked at him. It just gave me memory, and it gave me flashbacks of what I saw the night he passed away that I didn't want to see. I didn't want to see him in pain. So the ceremony was over and stuff, and we all went to my grandma's house for lunch after the service. And yeah. And then I think in either March or April, I don't really remember, was they only had up to 10. We could only have up to 10 people go. So it was my aunt, my dad, my stepmom, my stepbrother, and my grandma, and me, that all went to the burial, because those were the only people that could go. And I cried because I knew that was the last time that I was going to see him. And to this day, I still think about him every day. And yeah, that's basically his cancer journey. Yeah. anyways, I gotta go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna end the video here. And I just wanted to say, if you guys were watching this and stuff, just wanted to say thank you all. Like, thank every single one of you for the support and the love to my family. It means a lot. And I just, like, I am so happy that you guys would do that. That you guys would show love and support. So, I just wanted to thank you. So, I'm gonna end the video here. Oops. I'm gonna end the video right here. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below what else I should do. Comment down below the saddest journey you've had to go through, and like what other and like give me some video ideas and stuff. And like basically showing like what I could do better to become like a little bit more popular and like more noticeable. Like what I could do to change as a person. That's basically it. And I also have 2 messages to send out on this. Number 1, love and cherish and be with your family forever, and you never ever walk away angry with someone. You always want to walk away in a good mood. And just like love and cherish your family, because you don't know if that's their last time that you're going to see them. That's the first one. The second one is, well, morally just a fact. Cancer sucks. And if you know people out there that do have cancer, then I just wanted to say, you're not alone. Because I will be there to support, because I am there to support you. Whether we know each other or not, I will be there to support you guys, because I know what it's like to deal with someone that is dying of cancer. So, cancer sucks. And another thing is, you don't move on, you move forward in life. And think about all the good memories you've had with your family, because yet again, like I said, you don't know if that's going to be the last. And yeah, that's about it. So, I'm going to end the video here. And yeah, so, as always, in every single video, as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.